The year was 1885. The day, June 17th, when one of the greatest symbols of our nation's freedom, the Statue of Liberty, first sailed into the New York harbor. For almost 130 years, she has stood as a beacon, a sign of hope, and an enduring symbol of the American dream. She has welcomed countless immigrants, and millions come to see her every year. Safe to say, we all love her, and for the most part, we think we know her. But do we? Come on. Let's go to Amy Holmes from Real News.
Hey, Raj.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Now,
Lady Liberty, quite spectacular.
tell me about her.
She was a gift to the United States from France as a sign of international friendship and put in New York Harbor to welcome immigrants coming to our shores. At that time, back in 1876, when she was first sculpted, that meant a lot of Western Europeans who were coming across the Atlantic, and their first stop often was New York.
So who designed her, who built her? Tell me some of that kind of stuff.
Sure. So a Frenchman named Frederick Auguste Bartholdi designed the Statue of Liberty. And something that I read that was fascinating is her copper skin that he sculpted her out of is actually thinner than 2 pennies. So you look at the Statue of Liberty,
Really?
you think like it must be so heavy, which of course it is, but the actual material that he used is very supple copper that then turned brown and then became green because of the oxidation process. So she actually started out a different color. Isn't that funny?
I think that's interesting because I always just assumed that the Statue of Liberty, she's green.
No, she started out like a copper penny. So her outer shell, that thin membrane, that was sculpted by the Frenchman Bartholdi, but her inside structure was created by a Frenchman named Eiffel, and perhaps you know him from the Eiffel Tower. So how were they going to get this huge statue to stay up? Well, they went to Eiffel to engineer it and figure it out.
So how did it end up in New York?
Well, it was shipped across the Atlantic with the intention of being a gift of America's 100th birthday to celebrate July 4th, 1776, when we declared our independence. It got here a little late, about 10 years later, and was finally erected on Liberty Island in 1886. Now, coming across the ocean, it took 350 individual pieces packed in over 200 crates to get her from France to the United States. So you can understand why it took some time to get her up on that pedestal.
So aside from just the staggering size of the statue is the symbolism. The symbolism is cool. And it seems like almost every little nook and cranny has some sort of symbolism attached to it.
The sculptor was very thoughtful in all of the different elements that he chose. So of course there's the torch, which we're also familiar with, that is a symbol of liberty and light and enlightening the world. Then you have the Statue of Liberty's crown with 7 points on it. Those 7 rays of the sun are actually the 7 seas and the 7 continents of the whole world.
I did not know that.
I had no idea either. All of these little details, even down to the shoes that she's wearing.
Really?
Yes, so the Statue of Liberty is wearing sandals, and those sandals are a symbol of free people, sort of the common man wearing sandals, and around her feet are broken chains and shackles to represent, again, American freedom. And it's all over the statue that there are all these really neat symbols.
How, if at all, has she been altered since she was first put up?
So the first real reconstruction was in 1916 during World War I, and that's when some German saboteurs, they exploded munitions on an island near the statue, and it did damage to the statue, in particular the torch. So we had to go and repair the torch, but what's kind of interesting and maybe a little sad is the torch has been closed to anybody being able to go in it ever since. And then after the World Trade Center disaster in 2001, Lady Liberty was actually closed for 3 years. And I don't know if you remember, there was scaffolding around it. It was really interesting. So they were doing work on her just as recently, a little over 10 years ago.
So it's kind of the story of America in this one little statue, because you've had World War I affected, the September 11th affected,
sure,
Hurricane Sandy affected.
Exactly, and yet there she is, standing tall, standing proud, and enduring.
See how she just wraps things up like that? Amy,
thanks so much,
thank you so much. And we be right back.